Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Have you guys ever heard of Death Mountain in North Russia?
Death Mountain?
This is probably one of the craziest connections, connecting a lot of stuff that we've talked about on the podcast. It's a very tall mountain, like one of the tallest mountains in the region. A very spiritual place. The ancient tribesmen, the Sami tribes, they say that it's where these giants used to live. And there's this giant flood. And these evil giants who they say came from the fallen gods went to this mountain to escape the flood. Some of them went into the earth. They believe that there's the spirits of these evil giants still roam on this mountain today. There are 16,000 megalithic boulders that are bouncing on smaller rocks. They believe that these boulders were placed by the giants, and they act as a portal to another realm. So they say that these giants are actually very hard to kill because they could go to these portals and escape into the spiritual realm.
Dude, is that what Bigfoot is? Just a hairy giant?
Dude, it makes you think.
That's an interesting bit of folklore that I've never heard before. This just makes me think of the fallen angels and the flood of Noah. There may be some truth to these stories that are actually backed up biblically. Maybe they did have the ability to escape into the spirit realm. Maybe that's how they escaped this worldwide flood that should have wiped out everything and everyone in its path. Maybe they came back after the flood and stayed in hiding away from man so they wouldn't influence the population like they'd done before, which led to the flood in the first place.
For decades, reports of encounters with extraterrestrial beings have described a species known as the Greys. These entities, often associated with UFO phenomena, are divided into two distinct types: the shorter worker Greys and the taller, more authoritative Greys. The shorter Greys stand between 3 and 4 feet tall. Their bodies are thin and almost fragile looking, with long, spindly arms that extend past their knees. Their skin is smooth and grey, sometimes described as having a slightly rough or reptilian texture. Most striking are their oversized, black, almond-shaped eyes, devoid of pupils or sclera. Witnesses report that these eyes seem to exude a hypnotic quality, as if they can peer into the depths of the human mind. Their noses are reduced to barely visible slits. Despite their small stature, these beings are known for their eerie, fluid movements. They rarely speak, instead communicating telepathically. Some speculate they function as bioengineered drones, carrying out tasks for their taller counterpart. In contrast, the taller Greys stand between 5 and 7 feet tall, their presence exuding an air of authority. Their limbs are still long and slender, but their posture is more upright, their movements more deliberate and controlled. Unlike the smaller ones, the taller Greys are often perceived as the leaders or overseers of their kind. Some abductees describe them as more intelligent, even wise, capable of complex thought and telepathic persuasion. These beings are often associated with genetic experimentation and telepathic mind control. Many who claim to have encountered them describe an overwhelming sense of submission, as if their very thoughts are being read and influenced. Whether these beings are visitors, watchers, or something far beyond human comprehension remains a mystery. But one thing is certain: the legend of the Greys continues to captivate and unnerve those who dare to look into the unknown.
I always find myself wondering where they get this information from. I'm assuming this was all compiled from witness testimony from abductions. At least that seemed to be what he kept referencing. And if these distinctions are true between the tall Greys and the small Greys, this makes me think about those new human-looking robots they just came out with. Maybe the smaller Greys are a type of biological robot. Maybe the tall Greys use the small Greys to send them into perilous situations so they don't put themselves at risk. And maybe that's why whenever you hear about a crashed UFO being reported on, it's usually accompanied by the report of small-scale aliens.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just caught Apple in literal subliminal brainwashing. That was Sean's term for it. He's absolutely right. This is incredible. You see more and more of this type of stuff. Charlotte, show people what you just discovered.
So if you do voice note to text and you say, racist. Racist. Racist.
Ooh. Let me get it closer. Show people they can see that. That is insane. This is an apple?
Racist.
Wow. Wow. Do it again.
You hit this voice note here, record your voice down here.
Uh-huh.
And you say, racist.
Wow. Can you believe this? Now, here's the deal. That's what Professor Epstein calls it, a subliminal programming. And they also do it with headlines that'll say something that's not true, but when you click it, it's a different article, so that they can't basically get caught doing it.
You can go test this out. It'll work on your phone too, if you have Apple.
Wow.
It does for everyone's phone. Just try and get your phone. Let's see if it
Here we
works.
are, let's see it. Wow. Here, Charlotte. You focus on it. It's gonna go mega viral.
Hit the right down there and say racist.
Racist.
Do it again.
Racist. 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 It did
You
it
saw it
again.
do it?
Racist.
Wow.
Racist.
This video is all over X today, and apparently by the time I discovered it, Apple had already found it and fixed it. Mine still autocorrects to a different word before it spells out the word racist, just like theirs does, but instead of saying Trump, it says R-E-I-N-E-L-D for some reason. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but I'm assuming it's also some sort of evil subliminal messaging. I can't believe they were doing this to begin with. How do you blame this one on a coding error? I just wonder what other subliminal messages Apple has programmed into these phones. Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
This is one of the only photographs ever of a black hole. This is a supermagnetic field bending a laser light into oblivion. So intense, not even light can escape it. So intense, not even light can escape it. We were told the physics of a black hole before one was ever photographed. They said this is the event horizon. Not even light can escape. If you were to approach this black hole, you would start getting ripped to pieces, particle by particle, and there would be an image projected of you, but you didn't exist there anymore. It was just the remnants of you because light cannot escape it, and it's just nonsense, is what it is. So could black holes just be an electromagnetic phenomenon that we honestly know nothing about? Could theoretical astrophysics just be a game of imaginary make-believe? Could reality itself be something entirely different than what we once assumed? Could Einstein have been wrong about gravity, but right about this? That's all for you to decide.
That sounds like a logical way to look at it to me. I think science only knows a small percentage of what they think they know. Any real advancements get swept under the rug so people aren't living their lives too well, so the scientific community is really only allowed to study in certain approved upon directions. And it's pretty clear to me that a system that's set up that way would only lead to headaches and frustrations when it comes to trying to figure out the darkest, deepest secrets of the universe. Half of the things that they think they're learning about now are probably based off theories and ideas that should have been discredited decades ago. But the powers that be don't want the people to know what's going on around them.
Corey, this one will freak you out. So the story goes, this guy is pig hunting and he's using a thermal scope. He's been on this field all night, hasn't seen anything move. He's like, you know what? I'm going to get up from this tree. He's like on some brush and he's like, I'm going to go across the field. And he's sitting there for a while, and then out of nowhere, a little blob shows up. He's like, here we go. The pigs are coming in. He's locked in. He's ready, for the thing to show itself. But then it gets up and he realizes that this infrared blob is humanoid. And he said it appears to look like a naked human. Goes over to the tree that he was just sitting against and starts checking it out or sniffing it. And the guy is across the field just going like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Then the thing is on all fours, postures up like it's about to howl, and then in a woman's voice goes, help! Oh gosh. Help! Continues to do it. The dude fires one way over the top of this thing's head, and then it goes, I'm injured, help! And then he sends another one. It runs, and he sends a couple, and he's like, it ran away from where my truck is, goes back to his truck, never goes in that field again.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
Said it was a naked humanoid, crawled up and was sniffing the tree the dude was just sitting on. It had been stalking him.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I only added this because it fits so closely with a story that my father told me whenever I was younger. I find this stuff absolutely fascinating, but it's hard to determine if this is something that someone genuinely experienced or if this is just something that guy got off of the Scary Story subreddit. He didn't give a name or anything. Honestly though, the fact that this story has so much detail and it doesn't seem to have a name name attached to it kind of makes it feel a little bit more credible. And the fact that it's just a story, not some grainy trail cam video of some guy in a bear suit trying to convince you you're looking at a cryptid, that kind of makes it a little more credible in the year 2025. However, as interesting as it is, it's still just a story with no evidence that it ever happened.
So this dude, Bill Cooper, is probably one of the most famous conspiracy theorists. He predicted 9/11 months before it happened. He exposed so many government operations, spying on their own people, using technology to control, manipulate, and spy on us. But let's talk about what he said about aliens, because it's pretty crazy. So Bill's background was in naval intelligence. He claimed to have seen top secret documents about government alien interactions. He initially believed that aliens were real and made contact with world governments. So he claimed that the government made a deal with extraterrestrials in 1954. And it was a treaty that essentially was like, hey, listen, aliens, you give us your alien technology, teach us how to build this incredible, and you can abduct our people whenever you want and experiment on them. Yes, that is the official language in those documents. He also talked about a group that was called the Majestic 12. And essentially, MJ-12 was created to manage alien relations and cover up any UFO sightings or abductions or anything like that. The Men in Black, I guess, is basically what that is. He also claimed that the moon landings were faked in a Hollywood set, but it wasn't because we didn't go to the moon, it's because they didn't want us to see what they actually discovered on the moon. So I guess there's some nuance for all you moon landing conspiracy theorists out there. And then later in his life, he made an insanely major shift and basically came out with the alien hoax theory, essentially stating that aliens are not real, or at least as we've been told, and that it's all a government psyop. The government would leak things about UFOs to distract us from military technology. The psyop essentially was geared towards creating the narrative around all these unexplained things for the public, but more importantly, to prepare us for an alien invasion that was coming that would be used as a catalyst for these governments to take more control. This is where you hear about things like the New World Order, Project Bluebeam, and all of that. It's attributed to him. So here's the big thing. I mean, obviously, this was in the 90s, and we can see now how crazy things are. The whole Dior bag situation, you can see the man-made crafts and also things that I believe is just organic matter, not man-made. The question though is, was Cooper actually onto something, or was his paranoia feeding into government misinformation that he was being fed to craft a narrative that again would distract people from what's really going on? But it's a wild rabbit hole, because initially he believed that like aliens were abducting people, and then he completely switched his stance saying that like, no, it's actually the government that is abducting people acting as aliens to kind of create these narratives. He also said that most UFOs are black budget military projects and just advanced technology that the public's not supposed to know about or see. So where do you stand on this? Because for me, it's not like, I don't think it's totally right. I don't think it's totally wrong. I have some very different opinions, but those are for a later day.
I think it says a lot about this guy if he was out there saying the same thing for decades and then pretty much changed his story overnight. He clearly saw something that upended his worldview to the degree that he was ready to throw away his entire reputation just to get the word out, to combat the very idea he had been spreading himself. I do think that the government is intentionally trying to spike interest in the UFO phenomenon. And why would they be doing that if they didn't want us thinking about it? There's so much evidence pointing to this being what's going on, it's almost overwhelming. What do y'all think? I think they are the ones making most of them, but with all the stuff I've seen filmed from the ISS from their live cameras, I'm not completely convinced that we don't have at least one non-human species living on this planet with us.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a bit of a compilation for you all here today of space missions from Russia and the USA on live feeds and recordings of strange anomalous activity happening around missions that they're performing, okay? So we've got the Apollo 10, we had a white orb flying past there. And now we have a, as you can see here, an external tank separation. There's your tank. And look to the right here, look at that. There's a boomerang triangle-shaped type object floating through that's kind of phasing in and out of existence. That's kind of strange, right? And it just gets even better. I mean, as the years go by, if you've been paying attention to any sort of live streams and stuff that come from NASA itself, whenever anything strange or weird appears into frame, they randomly just, you know, shut off the live feed or say, oh, there's an interruption, sorry guys, you have to turn it off, and then things of that nature. And it's very, very interesting. And astronauts and people working in and around these sort of missions always report strange things. And we've had it for so many years now. As you can see here, we've got things coming all the way from the mid-1900s forwards, and it's very interesting. And this whole compilation is just amazing about all of the strange things that happen. Photograph outside the ISS during the Expedition 7, the object was officially catalogued by NASA as unidentified. Look at the state of this thing, mate. Interdimensional VHS player, bruv. You know what I'm saying? What is going on here? And again, Aurora Borealis, right? Of the strange bat signal above the auroras that we've seen and all these weird shaped objects. And this isn't the first time these objects appear, right? What is that? Explain to me that, NASA. Huh? More. The ISS, International Space Station, all the time on live feeds when things happen. Look, oh, goes past. And usually when these things appear on these live streams and live feeds, they shut them off. It's very weird. And I don't care. They can try and suppress me as much as they can, as much as they want, but I will always be talking about stuff that matters and this strange, weird stuff. Alright? Unbelievable. Here you go. This is a good one. What is that, mate? Right? It's not a basketball in the atmosphere. This is a freaking orb. Look like the one from Manchester. Alright? The ones we've seen in New Jersey. The ones that have been appearing in Japan and China and the Middle East. Alright? And all over Europe. Okay? There was one that was basically exactly like this that happened near the South Downs in the UK. Basically a couple of weeks ago. Perfect. Exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just insane. There's more things that just carry on. I mean, if they can't explain what most of this stuff is, right? Or they do try to explain it with some just strange, stupid stuff that they come up with, I don't know. Like, what is all that about? And we do have this thing. Again, there's that NASA Tether mission where they had this disc-shaped object with a hole in the middle that was surrounding this tether in space when I'm conducting experiments. Every single time, mate. Screw being on the ISS. You guys let me know what you think. I thought this was a good thing to watch. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed. Look at that! Doritos, bro!
I think there's just no way that all of those crafts are man-made. There has to be some aliens here. Either that or those are Tartarian and we're getting a glimpse at their space program. Maybe that's what that guy meant when he said there are no aliens. Maybe there's a different species here, but it's just another branch of humanity. Not truly alien. The only issue with that being what he meant, though, is that the guy seemed pretty adamant about getting his message out there, and he never mentioned anything specific to that nature that I could find. I'm just trying to rationalize how we could have these clearly alien ships flying around above us if we don't have any aliens living here.
In 1995, this aerospace engineer, Philip Taylor Kramer, called his friends in a frantic state saying that he just made a discovery that was world-changing. He then disappeared. His car was found at the bottom of a canyon 4 days later. Let's dive into what happened. So PTK was a rock star from the 1970s band Iron Butterfly. He later left music to pursue physics and engineering and would work on cutting aerospace technology. He specialized in communications, optical data transmission, and time-space physics. He was reportedly working on a theory for faster-than-light communication. If proved correct, this would revolutionize science and military technology. It would revolutionize a lot of things. Others reported that he was working on anti-gravity and time manipulation as well. Apparently, he was making some big breakthroughs, and on February 12, 1995, he called his wife, and then he called some friends. He sounded a little bit frantic and he said, "Hey, I'll see you soon, but it's not going to be on this plane." He was at LAX. He was last seen driving to LAX and he was never found. The car was never found for 4 years. Until one day in 1999, some hikers found it at the bottom of a ravine. Inside were skeletal remains. The authorities, of course, said suicide. What's crazy is that area had been searched multiple times. Why wasn't it found for 4 years? Crash also was not consistent with the high-speed accident. And of course, his friends and family said that he would never take his own life. He was too excited about the work that he was doing. So what are the theories? The number one, for his discoveries. Whether military or corporate forces, people believe that he was because he was being too revolutionary. Some claimed that he was getting too close to UFO technology and the government did not like that. Others believe that he may have experimented on himself and that experiment went south, which led to his But why was his car gone for 4 years? Was he actually on the verge of breaking science as we know it, or was he just a little woo? What do you think? But the one thing that is true is the freaking transition from rock star to scientist is like unparalleled.
I did a lot of digging on this case, and it is absolutely worth looking into. The guy seemed like a super genius with everything he was involved in. Sadly, I think when you read the accounts of what was actually said in those last few phone calls to his friends, I think there's plenty of reason to believe that he did this to himself. The thing that this video conveniently leaves out is that when this guy was calling his family and his loved ones, he was actually telling them how much he loved them, and several of his friends reported that he sounded like he had been crying. It is highly suspicious that his car was found in an area that had already been searched multiple times before. But they also didn't label his death as self-inflicted, but as unknown. Besides the fact that he placed a call to 911 right before he disappeared and told them in the call that he had intentions on ending his life. I feel like this one turned out to be a great story with a really sad ending. I don't think that the conspiracy around his death really holds much water.
When Joe and I both worked in Stargate together, same office, I had an incident where I was on top of a grassy knoll, which I now use to explain as, actually have a picture of it, it's important to say this name. There it is. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. You know what that looks like?
I don't.
It's outside of San Francisco.
Do you mind if I text this to myself so we can put it on
Go ahead.
screen?
The story that I am not telling you is about my actual encounters with UFOs. So Joe and I are both working in Stargate. And one night I have this very strong, I'm standing on a grassy knoll area. And I'm looking around, and there's lots of people, just regular Joes, regular people there, and I'm looking around, and there's a sense of sort of being hypnotized or in a zone. I wish I knew that name. Do you know when the healers down in South America go around and fix your ears and fix your eyes and stuff? They're all kind of mesmerized.
In a trance.
Mesmerized, right? Well, these people that I was standing around with on the grassy knoll area were all sort of mesmerized. And they were like looking around, and there were aliens in between them, like interviewing them or talking to them and so forth. And I lost my composure because I was doing training in remote viewing and out-of-body stuff and all that. And I spoke in my thing, I spoke up and said, well, I teach people how to get out of their body. And the aliens looked over at me and I said, shit, shouldn't I keep my mouth shut?
I wanted to throw in a clip of this interview to get some discussion going about this guy. What is y'all's impression of the dude? I'm getting some strong Planet Opposition vibes. I haven't really looked into the guy or done any research on him yet, but he gives me the cringiest feeling that I've gotten from any of these whistleblowers yet. Like he's an entrenched bureaucrat who's been specifically sent out to misdirect everybody on UFOs and aliens. Does anybody know anything about this guy that might move my opinion in the other direction? I'm really curious to know what his deal is, because he just comes across like a deep state puppet to me. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But with all that out of the way, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.